But then it says, תתנהג תמיד לדבר כל דבריך. Be prepared and accustom yourself to speak all of the things you say. All of the things you say, benachat. All of the things you say, gently. Meaning, whether you're teaching Torah, or you're teaching math, or you're talking business, or you're doing whatever it is that you're doing, make sure you do it gently. What does it mean gently? We have to whisper? How come I'm yelling sometimes? How come I raise my voice sometimes? How come the biggest rabbis in history, when they spoke, the world heard? The Ben Ish Chai, alav shalom, every Shabbat he had a lecture over 10,000 people. Now in those days there was no microphones. But every single person heard his voice. 10,000 people. 10,000 people, you're talking about a stadium. Every single person all the way in the back heard every single word that he said as if he's talking to his ear. After the Ben Ish Chai died, his son, Rabbi Yaakov, took over. And he started giving a lecture, and the same 10,000 people showed up. And he starts talking, and half the people say, "We can't hear you, Kvod Arab, we can't hear you. Speak louder, louder." And he tries to speak louder, and they complain, "We can't hear you, Kvod Arab, we can't hear you. Speak louder." He said, "I can't." He was losing his voice already. So he says, "Whoa, we heard your father. How come we can't hear you?" He says, "No. When my father spoke, it was HaKadosh Baruch Hu speaking. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mamash speaking through his throat." Why? When somebody is putting his whole life, his whole neshama into something, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to make sure that you're going to hear it. He says, "I'm not on the level of my father. He was tzaddik, kvodo b'mkomo. His honor is in his place, but he wasn't his father." Everybody knows that. So then people will ask me, and they write on the YouTube, so how come you're yelling? How come Rav Nisim Yagen, alav shalom, was yelling? You hear every dasha. Rav Nisim Yagen, one of the greatest rabbis that ever lived, every dasha, simple stuff, yelling, you could hear it in a different country. He built communities. He didn't help people do tshuva only. Literally, there are communities all over the world that he built because of his lectures. Arav Shbadron, one of the greatest rabbis that ever lived, again, built communities. You hear him talk about simple issues, yelling his lungs out. How come? So somebody one time asked Arav Shbadron, when you pray, how come you yell all the time? How come you yell when you teach, you pray? Why do you yell so much? So Rav Shbadron took his right hand, he gave tach in his face. Woke him up. The guy said, Rabbi, I just asked a simple question. I didn't know rabbis hit. So the rabbi looks, he goes, "Why are you screaming? Why are you screaming?" So the guy says, "Well, it hurt." He goes, "Exactly. When it hurts, you scream." He says, "It hurts me to see Am Yisrael acting like goyim. It hurts me to see Am Yisrael going against their Father in heaven. It hurts me to see Am Yisrael burning their own neshamot. It hurts. So when it hurts, you scream." And the Gemara Masechet Sanhedrin says in page 84, in a place that is Chilul Hashem and Kvod Harav, a place that there's a desecration of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name, you don't even have to consider any honor for even a rabbi. Meaning that if you see even a rabbi doing the wrong thing, desecrating Hashem's name, you can embarrass that rabbi in public. Why? HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name is before everything else. So now, Rabotai, this answers the question of why do we sometimes raise our voice? It's not for entertainment purposes. If I wanted to entertain you, trust me, I could do many other things. I trained over 135 kids just like you to become the best salesman in the world. I could fluctuate my voice, I could sound entertaining, I could change my voice, I could do a lot of different things with my voice. We don't do any of that because this is not for entertainment When we raise our voice, it's because it's painful. It's painful to know the truth and then see reality. I see the world. I see where people are. I see how upside down they are. I have kids calling me, telling me that their rabbis are telling them things that are against the Torah. All types of strange things. And then I ask him, you sure he's a rabbi? He goes, yeah, he's the Rosh Yeshiva. He's not like a rabbi you found in the street. He's like a Rosh Yeshiva. I said, and he told you that? So he didn't just tell me. He told a whole group of us. It was 8 of us, 9 of us. He said, he told you guys this? You sure? Maybe you didn't mishear him? He goes, no, ask one of the other kids. So then one of the other kids gets on the phone. Or he comes up to me. He goes, yeah, the same rabbi, he said this. Sure, this rabbi, that, this. Another kid calls me. Different rabbi. Said, oh yeah, listen, Rabbi, I have all these questions. He starts asking questions. And I ask, I'm like, listen, you're only 14, 15 years old. How do you have these questions? He goes, well, it's not really my questions. It's my teacher's questions. I said, I thought you went to yeshiva. These questions usually come from atheists. No problem answering the questions. We have answers to those questions. But why is your teacher asking atheist questions in yeshiva? He goes, oh, because my teacher is an atheist. I said, your teacher in yeshiva is an atheist? He says, yeah. I asked him 5 times the same question. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what do you mean? How does an atheist teach in yeshiva about God? He goes, no, he doesn't teach about God. He teaches us about science. I said, why in the yeshiva? Why is he? Why? He goes, no, he's one of the teachers that doesn't teach Torah. I said, does the principal, the Rosh Yeshiva, know that he has an atheist teaching? He goes, yeah. He knows. I said, so how come we didn't fire him? He goes, oh, well, they had a deal that as long as he doesn't teach us about atheism. I said, yeah, but obviously he is. He goes, yeah, he doesn't know that. Maybe he doesn't know it. So I called the Rosh Yeshiva. I tell him, listen, you realize that you have an atheist teaching all your kids, and they're all coming to me with all types of atheist questions? Baruch Hashem, the guy got fired. Took 2 weeks, though. Still gave him a 2 weeks notice to ruin the kids. Point is, Rabotai, is that sometimes you see reality, and it's very, very painful. Very painful. You see what people are being taught today, and it's much complete garbage. That's why I always tell people, don't be spiritually lazy. If you're going to learn something already, make sure you get a source for what you learned, that you can see that it's God's opinion and not the rabbi's opinion. Because if it's God's opinion, then you know you have to do what it says. If it's the rabbi's opinion, you could agree or disagree. Don't be lazy and just assume that what he said is right or what he said is wrong. Double check. Because your life depends on it. And don't be scared if he raises his voice once in a while. And don't be impressed if he's a very sleek speaker. Because sometimes you hear people speak and they sound like businessmen. They sound like they just came off of Wall Street. They sound like they just finished a deal. They're all slick speakers. They use big words. They're very proper. Some of them look like models. Some of them used to be big rabbis in the UK. And they sound sophisticated. They wrote several books, but in reality, any real Talmid Chacham, any real person who knows Torah, listens to what they say and turns it off within 5 seconds. Because they know that everything they say is garbage. So you have to double check. You have to double check for yourself. You have to see things for yourself. Because everything depends on it. So when people ask, how come you yell, it's not that you yell because you're angry. It's not that you raise your voice because you're angry. You yell if it hurts. If it hurts, you yell. When you see Hashem's name desecrated, you yell.